I was like, we are missing somebody. That's the point of. All right, so we'll call Committee of the Whole to order. All right, so Committee of the Whole, we'll call Committee of the Whole to order. We have 2 items on the agenda. The first is the approval of the minutes of the December 5th Committee of the Whole meeting. I'll move to approve those without the necessity of a reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion passes. Okay, the other thing we have is a resolution to take effect immediately. This to appoint a member of the community to the Ward 4 seat for the remainder of the 4-year term ending December 31st, 2027. This is our council colleague, Cindy Marks, resigned effective at the end of 2025. So the person appointed to this Ward 4 seat would fill the rest of that 4-year term. So we do have, we put out a call for applicants to the public. And we had, I believe, 8 applications. So typically what we have done in the past is, and anticipated for this go-round, is that we would have, tonight choose which, if the applicants we would like to interview. We have next Monday's meeting reserved for Committee of the Whole to interview any of those applicants, and then potentially then appoint at the next full council meeting, which would be the week after that. So before we proceed, any comments on that process? Okay. So we can, I don't have the language in front of me, but we often move to enter exec session for the purpose of considering the appointment of a public official. Is that, did I get that close enough, Ernie? Okay, thank you. All right, so I will move to enter executive session for that purpose.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded, and I do need a roll call. Thank you. Everyone remembers but me. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do that. Evans?
Yes.
Keppel, yes. Baker?
Yes.
Bullock?
Yes.
Strebig?
Yes.
Hamilton Steiner?
Yes.
All right, we'll head to the conference room, and we'll include Director Vargo and council staff in that motion.
Had the time.
All right, so we've exited executive session, right? And so with that, I will move to ask the clerks to schedule, let's still go ahead and say 30-minute interviews with the following candidates: Jason Frederick, Matt Bixenstein, AJ Pixie Mallow, and Sydney Leiter Canaday. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? We don't vote to leave executive session, right? We just do it. Yeah. Because we can't take a vote in executive session, so we just come out of it. So, yep. I got that one down. Okay, so, and I'll just say in terms of discussion on that, we really appreciate everyone who took the time to put their name forward and submit materials. We are very fortunate in Lakewood to have a lot of engaged folks who are willing to serve the community. So we thank everyone who took time to do that. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes. Okay, we do have a few minutes left. Without objection, I thought we could take a little bit of time to discuss our upcoming schedule for the City Hall space considerations. So on the docket tonight, we have in Committee of the Whole, we have some things referred that has been going on with the City Hall space considerations. On the docket tonight, there's communications for both me and Mayor George with the updated schedule. In that original communication, I encourage council members to be thinking about questions that you would need the administration to answer in order to make an informed decision. So I thought if we have a few minutes left tonight, this might be a good opportunity for us to kind of discuss that a little more as a group, of if folks have those in mind, of some things that, and I realize I'm throwing this at you without this being, but I thought since we have that time, we could maybe talk about that a little bit. So with that, does anyone have anything top of mind in terms of, so just clarification, if you haven't seen that communication, we did change things around a little bit so that because the bond council was not available the date we originally had them scheduled, so they are scheduled for the same night that the administration is scheduled to present their argument for using the Warren Road building as the solution, and then also have the bonds council to talk to us about debt load capacity and the proposed bonds legislation. And then we would have 2 additional weeks to continue those discussions and deliberations. So with that, does anyone have top of mind things that you want to make sure are covered in that administration presentation? Councilman Bullock.
Thank you. So before answering that, I guess I want to understand or make sure that the process overall, I'm glad to hear the updates you're sharing tonight. Thank you. That do we have a structure that is going somewhere and going somewhere in a timely manner? I'm sure the answer is going to be yes, at least to the first. But as I recall, what we had done, I found it very helpful to, first of all, both. You know, the administration presented the plan, and council engaged an advisor to present a supplementary view. I found that very helpful, and I want to hear more from both, but especially if the council advisor is going to continue that work to get to the next layer of detail or degree of precision in the cost estimates, et cetera, right? I found the kind of 3-column, 3-option comparison that advisor presented to be very helpful. And I also recall there could be, in theory, there could be 4 or 5 columns. They, for simplicity, use the 3. But so in an iterative conversation, it would be great if we continue that. We pick up where our council deliberation left off. That certainly should include the administration's briefings. I think you may have a better working sense than I do right now of kind of how that comes together. But so the questions that I would want to hear addressed by the administration might vary a little bit depending on kind of where this is headed. So we're going to time things to be on time for the bond council, but then at some point, if a decision is going to be made in 2026, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, are we talking April, March, June, whatever the answer is, would be helpful for us to understand how much time we have to be deliberative and also get expert advice, which again I thought was very valuable.
Thank you. Yeah, so we do have the amended schedule I have on the docket tonight. It's kind of redlined so the February 17th date is the date that the bond council requested that we pass the bond legislation in order for them to go and get the rating, since they want to do a rating this year. So in order to meet that February 17th for the bonds, if we were to essentially do what the administration is asking with the $16.5 million in bonds for this year, then we would need, in order to do that, we would need to pass it by the 17th. So essentially, it doesn't mean that we couldn't do that plan, but if we're funding it through the bands, that's the deadline that we would have to fund it by in the bands legislation. Yep.
That makes sense given the dialogue. There's also kind of there's steps in between all or nothing. Right now, we have nothing. That's not quite true because there's operating and consulting contracts that I'm sure continue the plan development work. But in terms of paying for bricks and mortar, right now we've removed the 16.5. Now there could be scenarios where we say we're not going to put 16.5 back in, but we'll put some lesser amount in. And that would be, I think, critical to understand. My instinct is to take our careful time on this so that we know that the different options are pretty radically different. Small modification, very large modification, or move half of our operation to a totally different. So we better. I'm not in the mood to rush this. Let me put it that way. And I know the bond council has its strong recommendations. They're good recommendations. They're not handcuffs, though. If we said we needed to do it differently, we could probably work with them to have more options than just get it all done by the 17th. And if that really is the answer, is get it done by the 17th, then in my mind we could just come back in 2027 also.
Yeah, so I think, and that's something certainly we can double check with Director Mahoney. I think the 17th is in order to go out for the rating and then get the bands in time for everything, because it's not just this expenditure that's included with that. Right now, I asked them to draft it without that expenditure, so they would need to be adding it back in or without that number. And they would sort of prepare it both ways so that when they present to us, they can show us this is with the $16.5 million and this is without. So that's one point. The other is, yes, so when we had our council consultant present and the administration's consultant from Weber Murphy Fox present, in that presentation, they suggested the cash flow outlay would actually be more likely that in a typical process, whichever option we go with, whether it's a small addition on police, whether it's a big addition at this building or the Warren Road building, that you would typically have more like a $1 million to 1.8, I think it was, something like that, 1 to 2, let's say, $1 million for a design architect. And this year in 2026, and then we would actually have the larger capital outlay, the building costs in 2027 and 2028, depending which option we went with. So that's also something to understand, is so whether you know, if we're going to do anything, we would probably have some sort of design architecture. And I'm looking at Vice President Baker to confirm this, but that's my takeaway was if we do anything, we would need some money for a design architect.
Yeah, and so I apologize, didn't know we were going to be talking about this tonight, and, you know, read the letter from the administration on Friday when it was put on the docket, and then absorbed it over the weekend, although I will say people with young kids know that the last 2 weeks has been, you know, yeah, a lot of time to reflect on City Hall renovations. And so, you know, the thing I'm really going to need to understand is, to Council President Keppel's point, you know, if you're, whether we buy the Warren Road building or not, or we do an addition at City Hall or not, you need a design. You typically need a criteria architect to even go into the design build process. That's nerdy jargon for all of you, but what that is that you at least need a basis of design, a very early design, to then get pricing. And even when you're in design build, you get a criteria architect, and then the firm you hire kind of brings that design up to the level of allowing for construction. But you still need a basis of design, a criteria architect. And that's where I think we need to see more about, you know, and Liberty's proposal is certainly interesting. Liberty is also the entity that's selling us the building. And so I think third-party verification is very important to me, you know, as we go through this process. And so that's where I placed a lot of weight into what PMC and Weber Murphy Fox put together. You know, so I think we'll see what the administration has to say. But I do think that the options that we put together and work with PMC and Weber Murphy Fox on all had the same assumptions and kind of as apples to apples as you can get. And I think if you play with one of the options and you change the assumptions with them too much, you kind of lose the ability to then analyze them together. And so that's the challenge I think that we're going to face here is, what's the criteria design? And so I think, you know, we may be heading to a point where, you know, this is the design year and we appropriate funds to design, but design what, I think is the challenge. And that's what we're going to have to work with the administration on.
Councilman Evans?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I agree with my colleagues on this. And yeah, my biggest concern with I mean, I think this can happen certainly in the timeline, but is agreeing with Councilman Baker that I do want to see us have those consultants take a good look at whatever is presented in detail, because they did a lot of great work for us, and I think they were providing us with really solid information. So I do want to have them the opportunity to do that, but also realizing that we don't control their time. So making sure that we can have their availability somewhere in that window so we can get that feedback from them before making decisions. Thanks.
Thank you. And I think it's a good point. With doing the schedule as it's outlined, that would give us the presentation on January 26th. Partly, we wanted to have the new Ward 4 council member on board prior to getting those presentations, and have the bond council, and then we'd also have the 2nd and the 9th that we could also see about bringing our consultants in as well. So that will give us some time. All right, well, that's good. I thought it was a good opportunity for us just to kind of go through that timeline and make sure everyone understands what's happening. And again, encourage you to reach out both to me and Vice President Baker, and also to the administration with questions and the things that you want to make sure that are covered as we continue these discussions. All right, with that, without objection, there's no further business to come before Committee of the Whole, and we are adjourned.
long you take at the beginning to get to open it.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the regular council meeting for January 5, 2026. As presiding officer, I'm the longest-serving member of council. We don't yet have a formal council president or vice president, so we're going to turn to that in a second, but I guess that makes me pro tem something. So I'm opening the meeting. So I'd like to begin by calling for all those who can rise, please do. And let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now, as is City Council's tradition, I'd like to observe a moment of silence. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Baker.
Here.
Councilmember Bullock.
Here.
Councilmember Evans.
Here.
Councilmember Keppel.
Here.
Councilmember Hamilton Steiner.
Here.
Councilmember Streebig.
Here.
Reading and disposal of the minutes of the regular meeting of council held December 15, 2025.
I'll move that we approve without the necessity of a reading.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. That brings us to the election of President of Council, who serves for the term and is elected tonight, our first meeting of a two-year term. So I'd like to open nominations for President of Council.
Mr. Chair, I would move to have Councilperson Keppel serve as President of Council.
Motion's been made to elect Councilwoman Keppel as President of the Council. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. I'll now hold open the floor for additional nominations. Are there any other nominations or motions to nominate another council member for President of Council? Are there any other motions to nominate? Any other motions to nominate? Hearing none, let's move to vote on the motion before us, which is to elect Councilwoman Keppel to another term as President of Council. Any discussion on the motion? I will discuss. Councilwoman Keppel, you've been a very hard worker and a very thoughtful leader and a very strong leader of our community, very diligent, and so I'm happy to support the motion to elect you as council president, and thank you for your continued service to our community and to your council colleagues as we do our jobs, which is to carry out the will of the public. Any other discussion? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Noes? And the ayes have it. Congratulations, Council President Keppel. I don't think I ever had a gavel, but the gavel is metaphorically and physically returned to Council President Keppel.
Thank you. And thank you, colleagues, for your continued faith in me. All right, so now we are on to the election of the Vice President of Council, and I will move to elect Councilman Kyle Baker as Vice President.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? We're asking 3 times because that's the rules. In case you're wondering, I'm not actually hoping that anyone will put another name out there. And any other nominations? All right, so with that, I will consider nominations closed on the motion to elect, and I'll move to elect Vice President Kyle Baker. Yes,
Or commentary or
well, I need a second first.
second.
Okay, and then discussion. Go ahead, Councilman Bullock.
Thank you, Madam President. So as before, I think we've certainly gotten hard work, thoughtful service, careful preparation, and we've benefited from Councilman Baker's career in law, in planning, in development, and just knowledge of our community as somebody who's lived in, breathed and grown up here his whole life. So, Councilman, you've been a great colleague. I have every expectation you'll be a great colleague and Council Vice President once again.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Vice President Baker, or
Soon to be Vice President Baker.
Yeah, thank you, Councilman Bullock. And what I will say is you know, when President Keppel and I kind of talk about council leadership in our last term and hopefully in this next term, what we think about it is how can we best maneuver us as a body to have the biggest effect we can have. So that's the way I view being a part of council leadership, is how can we most effectively get our shared values and goals accomplished, and what can we do to further those. So it's really in service to you all as our colleagues, and really relish the opportunity to do it, and it's an honor, so thank you.
I'll just add, Vice President Baker, that I very much value your partnership in leadership, and I'm grateful to have you with me, so thank you. All right, on the motion to elect Kyle Baker as Vice President, all those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 1, report from Committee of the Whole held today, January 5th, 2026.
All right, Committee of the Whole met today to review candidates who had applied for the Ward 4 vacancy, which has become vacant due to the resignation of former Councilwoman Cindy Marks, effective at the end of 2025. We reviewed those applications. We had 9 candidates apply, eight candidates apply. Sorry, 8 candidates apply, and council met in executive session. After exiting executive session, I made a motion which was upheld to invite the following candidates for interviews for that Ward 4 vacancy. Those candidates are Jason Frederick, Matt Bixenstein, AJ Pixie Malo, and Sydney Leitner Canaday. Those interviews would be held next week here in the council chambers and live streamed so that everyone can view those. We anticipate that council will then vote on that appointment the following full council meeting. All right, I will, and then we also, if we had a little bit of time left, we also discussed the sort of process and timeline for our upcoming City Hall discussions, and discussed a little bit of some of the things that council would be considering and needing to look at as we went through that timeline. Move to receive and file that report.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 2, Resolution 2025-77, a resolution to take effect immediately, appointing one person to the Ward 4 seat on Lakewood City Council for the remainder of the 4-year term ending December 31st, 2027.
Move to defer.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 3, communication from Councilmember Keppel regarding updated schedule for City Hall facilities discussions.
Dear colleagues, I am writing to provide an updated schedule for discussions with the administration regarding City Hall space considerations. Due to the availability of the Bond Council, their presentation has been moved to January 26th. We will reserve their original date of February 2nd for additional dialogue regarding these significant decisions. Please find attached my original communication explaining the interconnectivity of the debt load and bands timeline and City Hall decision, relevant information, and the amended schedule. I encourage City Council members to review the attached presentation and the information in the shared folder. To ensure a productive conversation that will help Council make an informed decision, I suggest that each Council member compile a list of critical questions that you will need answered in order to make this significant financial and operational decision and send them in advance to the administration. I will move to refer this communication to Committee of the Whole.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion, I'll just add, this is essentially what we discussed tonight in Committee of the Whole, just going over the adjusted schedule and the timeline and how we need to work backwards from the Bonds Council in terms of the amounts for the bonds and how this will move forward. All right, any further discussion? Sure. Councilman Bullock.
sorry, my mic was off. On this page, and this may be partly a question for you, Council President, partly for the administration, on the 2026 line, projected cash flow, any of the options are 1.2, 1.5, 1.6, not a very much larger numbers. So those are not small numbers, but they're also not 16.5 million or even 10 million numbers. So I guess I'd like to speak to that, because I appreciate your anticipation and planning ahead so that we can try to integrate all these different timelines, including for debt financing. But if the work before us for 2026 for a potential City Hall improvement, renovation, upgrade, or even multiplication into 2 sites is really architecture and plan development, why would we need to debt finance that? So that's something that I think is going to be important to get our hands around, not just tonight, but in the whole calendar that you're talking about. But traditionally, debt financing is for capital, for bricks and mortar, and reserving, committing that much debt and starting to pay interest on that much debt before we're ready to use it, to me, is a question we've got to analyze carefully. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, I think that's part of, as you'll see, there's a communication from the mayor also with talking about the administration's plan, and that's, I think, this schedule that follows all of this lays out, is that we would be going through that, because that's exactly the point that we were discussing a little earlier tonight, was if some of the plans that were presented with the consultants or with those 3 options suggested that the 1.2 to 1.6 for the criteria architect design process would be in 2026, and then the major capital expenditure in 2027. The administration, I don't want to get ahead because we're going to get to that communication, but the administration's plan that they've presented moves that timeline up. So, that's what we'll be, I think, discussing in the next several weeks, going into that detail of what it is that we would be financing, when and why and how. Right. Mayor George, did you want to add to that?
Actually, I just had a clarifying question. I'm just looking at the amended schedule, and on the second in red, it says reserved for additional City Hall discussion. Did you want us to present on City Hall on the 26th and the 2nd?
I was anticipating that the initial presentation would be on the 26th, and then we would have the 2nd and the 9th for questions and follow-up and anything else that we need to do.
Got it. That was my question. So we'll be prepared to present initially on the 26th, and then reserve the other meetings for more discussion.
Yes.
Okay.
Kind of like when we did downtown development, reserving more meetings so that we have plenty of time to go through everything we need to go through, and hopefully.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
I know the 26th may be a kind of a long night because it's also the Bonds Council, but that way we get it all kind of together and have time to think about that and have thoughtful questions to come back with in the next few weeks. Right. Any further discussion on this communication? All right. Okay. Then on the motion to refer to Committee of the Whole, all those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 4, communication from Councilmember Keppel regarding recodification of ordinances.
Dear colleagues, the Lakewood Codified Ordinances is a living document continuously updated by City Council. Approximately 3 times per year, new adopted ordinances are batched together and sent to the American Legal Publishing to be incorporated into the codified ordinances. The following ordinance authorizes American Legal Publishing to perform one of these routine updates to incorporate all relevant legislation adopted after July 21st, 2025. Move to receive and file this communication.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 5, Ordinance 1, 2026. An ordinance to take effect immediately to approve the editing and inclusion of certain ordinances as parts of the various component codes of the codified ordinances and to provide for the publication of such new matter.
Move to defer.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion? Just for anyone following along at home, these are things that have already passed, but they just haven't been included in the sort of printed ordinances yet. All right, on the motion to defer. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 6, communication from Mayor George regarding presenting the administration's case for relocating to downtown Lakewood, 1470 Warren Road, Old Board of Education building. Mayor George.
Members of council, I continue to appreciate the ongoing dialogue regarding the space challenges the City of Lakewood is facing at City Hall and the due diligence process we are jointly engaged in to assess the best path forward. In furtherance of the public discussion held most recently at the Committee of the Whole on November 17th, 2025, whereby cost estimates were provided by Weber Murphy Fox and project management consultants on a variety of construction and location scenarios, the administration presents this communication to update you on recent discussions with the owner, developer of the BOE, Liberty Development, and presenting the information to you and the public. Liberty reviewed the presentation from November 17th meeting and subsequently reached out to the administration with a request to present its own apples-to-apples analysis of the cost to rehabilitate the BOE for city use. Such an analysis should be highly useful to the administration and City Council as we continue our due diligence process. Liberty is uniquely positioned to provide such an additional layer of analysis due to its deep knowledge and understanding of the site from its multi-year ownership, as well as the level of specificity Liberty can provide after performing multiple analysis on the building over time. Highly relevant to this analysis, Liberty has recently completed a historic renovation of the sister building next door at 1456 Warren Road, which gives them insights which might be otherwise lost in our evaluation process. Finally, this track record as developer and general contractor includes a heavy focus on and experience with similar adaptive reuse of historic structures in this region, the Bulkley Building in Playhouse Square and the Union Building developed with a public entity partner, Cleveland State University. All of the factors indicate that Liberty's evaluation of costs should be helpful to the administration and City Council. The City Hall building discussion in 2025 largely centered around projected costs. The aim of this communication is to attempt to answer the most basic question: what would the actual cost be to relocate several administrative departments into our core downtown? Once this cost is accurately determined, we will also have this figure validated and confirmed by our bond counsel and lender and ensure that it aligns with our ongoing financial health of the city. The administration will also publicly present its rationale as to why the downtown administrative office and police headquarters / justice center model at 12650 Detroit Avenue makes the most sense operationally, serves the community in the best manner of all options presented, and provides all city employees with a professional and equitable setting in which to work. To summarize the graphs, essentially the actual costs presented by Liberty are nearly $8 million less than PMC and Weber Murphy Fox presented. It's important to note that Liberty will guarantee their pricing, and this new process eliminates a need for a criteria architect. The cost comparison becomes even more compelling when compared to the proposed addition to the existing City Hall, as it provides 21% more square feet at nearly equal cost. Some of the rationale and benefits of a downtown City Hall include that the police department now has the square footage in line with industry standards in similar cities and suburbs. Costs. Estimates provided by PMC and Weber Murphy Fox came in at nearly 50% higher than actual construction and build-out price from Liberty, again, who will contractually guarantee such pricing. Customer service. Best option to create a one-stop shop, high-quality customer service experience for residents, tax or bill payers, permit seekers, and the public. And then unified departmental operations. Consolidate customer-facing departments under a single roof allows the best operational efficiency. Flexibility and growth. Long-term solution with room to grow and operate with flexibility over time. equitable and transit-friendly access, location at east-west and north-south RTA transit lines. 70% of the 30 largest Ohio cities have a city hall that is downtown. And then finally, adapted reuse of a historic building. Understanding that KeyBank and Bricker Graydon will be offering their expertise on all the above and to answer questions you or the public may have regarding the financial impact of this project, we look forward to further discussion of this critical analysis in 2026. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I will move to refer to Committee of the Whole.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion?
Councilman Bullock?
Thanks, Madam President. Thanks, Mayor. I know we're going to have more time to talk about this, but in your mind, is the only option to have 2 campuses, or could you see supporting a larger expansion of the current building and not displacing commercial tenants from a downtown building that could generate taxes for the city?
Well, I think it makes sense to finally get the administrative, customer-facing departments in one building, in one central building. Remember, we have the annex across the street as well. So, and I know we've discussed this before, we would, when those individuals are moved to a new site, we would put that site up for commercial use.
Okay, so it sounds like the administration's got a preferred option, but I guess what I'm asking is, do you know for sure that's the only option that you support, or could, as we engage in this analysis, find that you support or would consider some of the other alternatives?
Yeah, I think as we've gone through this process, we've identified the build-out out front option is just not suitable. Based on a variety of reasons that we can certainly go into in more detail, but that is not a good option, I would say, for City Hall.
Okay, all right, thanks for the starting point to more deliberation.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion to refer to Committee of the Whole?
Yes.
Vice President Baker.
To the administration, I'd really like to understand the process that would eliminate the need for a criteria architect. So if that could be in the presentation, be very helpful.
Yes, absolutely, that will be, and we do have, we are working with outside counsel on that, so we will definitely discuss that.
Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, on the motion to refer to Committee of the Whole, all those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 7, communication from Mayor George regarding mayoral appointments to boards and commissions.
Mayor George.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to announce following appointments to the City of Lakewood boards and commissions. We have Amanda McCready, Ashley Matanis, Angela Hare, Matthew Wilson, Tim DeWald, John Mazzy, Jordan Rush, Michelle Mino, and Meredith Danko, to various boards and commissions that you can see up here on your screen. And just, again, want to thank these individuals for volunteering their time and efforts to these important boards.
Thank you. Move to receive and file.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 8, communication from Mayor George regarding mayoral reappointments to boards and commissions.
Mayor George.
Okay. More appointments and, reappointments to Loan Approval Board, Mac Doyle, Civil Service Commission, John Mills, Citizens Advisory Committee, Dan McCown, and Garrett Oster. And again, thank you for these individuals who want to continue to serve in their board and commission appointments.
Thank you. Move to receive and file.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 9, communication from Mayor George regarding mayoral appointments to Case Board.
Mayor George.
Okay. It's my pleasure to announce my initial appointments to the newly formed Case Board. John Mitterhoser, Jeff McCourt, and Kyle Robinson. And again, with the others, appreciate their willingness to volunteer and spend their time for the benefit of the city. So thank you.
Thank you. I'll move to receive and file that communication.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. And I know we had the planning department as the administrative support on that. Do we know who from the planning department is going to be working with them on that?
Thank you, President Keppel. It'll be Dave Boss. He'll be the secretary on my behalf, and we're looking to schedule a meeting hopefully in February.
Okay.
So we're working on everything now.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, on the motion to receive and file the communication, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion passes.
Item 10, communication from Director Vargo regarding submerged lands lease at 1040 Forest Cliff.
Director Vargo.
Thank you. Dear President Keppel and members of City Council, this is in reference to 1040 Forest Cliff. This resolution is required by the Ohio Department of Natural Resources as it permits lakefront property owners to obtain submerged land leases. In this instance, the property owners are seeking the lease to construct coastal erosion control measures. This matter has been referred to the Division of Engineering for review. The property currently is the site of the city's outfall, one of the city's outfall, and an easement has been recorded that will protect any future work that may need to be done to maintain or reconstruct the outfall. That easement was designed and addressed by the city's engineer and Assistant Director Swallow. Therefore, the resolution approves the submerged lands lease subject to the city's easement. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I do that, Director Vargo, just so I understand, this is the matter was referred to Division of Engineering, so that review has been completed, and so yes, I'm seeing, okay. All right, so that everything's satisfied from the engineering department that with this easement that all outfall work can move forward. Yep, I'm seeing nods from both Director Gordon and Director Vargo, so just for anyone who can't hear nods at home. Okay, so I will move to, let's see. Shall I move to receive and file the communication unless we want it? I'm not sure if we really need to send this to committee. I know Vice President Baker, you've been working with some of the, this isn't that project, but some of those projects.
Yeah, I think I'd like to understand. No, I don't want to get in the administration's way timeline-wise. I think I would like to understand this project. So the other times we've done submerged land leases, we've sent it to Public Works and Sustainability, I think. But I don't want to mess up a timeline. So,
Director Gordon.
Sure, thank you, President Keppel and Vice President Baker. This is primarily focused for private development at 1040 Forest Cliff. We just needed an easement there for the outfall. That is included within the submerged land lease. So everything's included within the submerged land lease that is being submitted to ODNR. So the resident has been patient, would be the best wording that I would use, and is certainly hoping to get this moving forward.
So Public Works and Sustainability. So Councilman Evans, do you have a preference?
No, I'm happy to have the meeting to talk about it, and I don't think it would be a terribly long meeting, so we could probably hopefully schedule that sometime over the next several weeks, as soon as possible.
Yeah, we could actually get that in before the next full council meeting, I think. I think we have a little time on the schedule on the 20th. So we could adopt it that night, potentially. Mayor
I was
George.
just adding that to Director Gordon's comment, these residents are waiting on the formal approval to get going. So time is of the essence.
Sure. Okay. So so let's go ahead, if you want it, let's go ahead and refer the communication to for clarity.
Yes, please.
And then we'll get it on for the 20th so we can potentially pass it that next full council meeting. Okay.
Yeah, Chair.
Yes.
Yeah, I would want to not let them wait another meeting, but as a matter of course, I mean, it's like 30 or 40 pages of documents. I'd prefer time to review it before we formally approve as a body. So I think if we can commit to get it on a committee before our next full meeting, then for passage to the next full meeting, I think that's appropriate.
Yeah, and I'm flexible to call that meeting whenever, so whatever works with the schedule for, I'll yield to council leadership.
Okay, great. All right, so we'll try to get that on that meeting on the 20th then. So, all right, so I'm going to move to refer the communication to Public Works and Sustainability.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. We've kind of already had some discussion. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes. Go ahead.
Item 11, Resolution 2026-01, a resolution to take effect immediately approving the use of submerged lands for property located at 1040 Forest Cliff Drive, Lakewood, Ohio, in order to permit the owners the opportunity to construct the proposed shore structure.
A move to refer to Public Works and Sustainability.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 12, December 2025 Finance Department Vendor Report submitted pursuant to Lakewood Codified Ordinance 11103.
Move to receive and file.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion passes. All right, we have reached public comment. I think we have a couple e-comments. And we're going to have the sheet come up. If you have signed in for public comment, when I call your name, you'll come up to the microphone, push the button so that it turns green. Thank you. You'll have up to 5 minutes. You'll address the chair, that's me. Keep remarks civil, avoid personalities, and state your name and address for the record, please. All right. And you want the okay. And then our first up is Robert Organ. Welcome back.
Thank you, President Keppel. It's great to be back. We find ourselves in a fresh hell that the administration has thrown us into 3 days. So hopefully my comments can be a little bit of a distraction from that because we can't really do anything about invading a foreign country illegally here in Lakewood. That said, I was in the middle of drafting an email to all of you today, and I just felt like being here and not sparing you all my presence would be more effective. I've talked about this before. Snow removal in our bike lanes and on our sidewalks is currently left up to the homeowner/business owner. It's ineffective. I think we all can agree that it's ineffective. The sidewalks are not cleared. Often the bike lanes are not cleared. I understand that it's difficult to keep up when we're in the midst of a large snowstorm and things like that, but I'm currently confined to only walking, and I'm not even supposed to be out on slippery sidewalks, but don't tell my doctor. I've been doing it. You know, I just can't imagine how somebody that has serious mobility issues, somebody that is aging and maybe requires the use of a walker or something like that, can get around in this city, especially someone that maybe can't afford a car or has lost the ability to drive for whatever reason. Yeah, so, you know, there are people in this room that will say that different phases of your life mean that you have to rely on a car. As I've pointed out, there are people that can't drive for whatever reason. There are people that will hand wave safety because at some point in time we didn't have maybe bike lanes that we have today, or you know, they don't have to get around by foot or by bike, so they drive and they don't really see these issues. I just can't get on board with any of that. We need something new, whether that's an ordinance or better enforcement, to go around for an average person and point out and report all of the sidewalks that are not clear. It's going to be basically a full-time job. I have dozens of pictures just over the last couple weeks of sidewalks that are not clear after 3 days of clear weather, both on our main commercial corridors as well as on our side streets and our residential streets. How are people supposed to get around? So, you know, people are confined to their houses if they can't afford a car or they can't drive for whatever reason. So we need an ordinance or some other method for the city to oversee and ensure that our sidewalks are getting cleared. I really appreciate that the city provides salt free of charge to everybody in the city, and often there are people coming from outside the city because they know about it. I don't care, that's great, as long as, you know, the sidewalks are getting cleared, but we see that that's often not the case. Whether a homeowner is unable to clear, they don't care. Business owners, you know, are not taking care of their sidewalks, and then there's also the issue of like crosswalks that aren't cleared because they're not directly in front of a business. How are people supposed to cross the street? It's a real hazard, and it makes, you know, getting out of the house for a lot of people much more difficult, or discourages people from walking or biking when they otherwise could. So I'm asking the city to either come up with a new ordinance that would assist with this, or some other method to oversee and supervise the clearing of our sidewalks. Hopefully that is done by next winter. I know that things move slowly, so if we could get it done next winter, that'd be fantastic. Thank you. Oh, and I have great news. I don't have class on Monday night this semester, so I'll be seeing a lot more of everybody.
Thank you. And just appreciate that topic too, and just we do hear a lot from folks around that topic, especially when we have big snows, and you know, we do actually have an ordinance that folks are supposed to be clearing their sidewalks from both commercial and residential, and I know our building department has been busy handling those complaints, particularly when it comes to commercial properties. You know, it's, for me personally, it's one thing if you're, you know, you're not physically able to clear your residential property sidewalk. There's folks in that situation, but if you're a commercial business, it's your responsibility for sure. And there's no, you know, you're making money off of people coming in, you can clear the sidewalk. So I know the building department, you know, they have a lot on their plate, but that is something that they're busy enforcing. So as people see, if you see those properties that are not cleared, please do report them to the building department so that we can enforce the laws that we have. And also, please be responsible about clearing your sidewalks. And if you have time to clear other neighbor sidewalks who are not able, that is also a very neighborly, community-focused thing to do. All right, next up we have Chris Binder. Welcome up.
Hi there, Chris Bindle, 1212 Hathaway. I have a feeling you could probably guess why I'm here. Last time I was here was in July, talking about ranked choice voting, and we kind of discussed, you know, we're going to put things on hold, get through the budget season, things like that. Well, budget season's over. I know you have a lot. I've been keeping up on council meetings, so I know you have a lot of new things on your plate. I mean, there's the city hall, you know, issue. There's the composting things you guys have been discussing. And I know you talked about starting budgeting season in June. So that doesn't give us a whole lot of time. That's like 6 months. It's been 2 years now since the Charter Review Committee met. So need to kind of get moving on some of those recommendations. Ranked choice voting was one of those. I'm just kind of here as a reminder. I don't really have much to talk about besides that. Although this month, January 23rd, is ranked choice voting day. So just to keep it in your mind. And I might be here, you know, in 2 weeks to remind you of that again. As far as deadlines for getting things on the ballot, as far as I could look up, it says that for local issues, it's August 5th, which is right around your summer recess. So it would be best to get it in before that. There was something that said that charter amendments can get on the ballot, it seems, as late as September 4th. But I think considering we were talking about budgeting or starting the budget conversation in June, it might be best to try and get these charter review recommendations done prior to that. So just here as a reminder, I know you have enough on your plate already, but just keeping the conversation open. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, it is on my radar to make sure that we get it in time. We had talked potentially about doing it for the, trying to get it, any of the charter amendments that we're going to put on the ballot for the November election, since we'll have, expect would be the highest voter turnout at the November election rather than in the May special election or primary. So keeping those deadlines in mind, but definitely thank you for the reminder as well. All right, that's everybody I've signed in to speak. Did anyone else wish to speak tonight? No? Okay. Then we'll take announcements from council. I just want to, before I turn it over to any other council members, acknowledge that we had some snow again over the holidays, and appreciate all of our city staff, our public works, our public safety, for keeping everybody safe and working over the holidays. We appreciate you, so thank you. Other announcements from council colleagues? Councilmember Strebig?
Thank you. Just a couple calendar updates. January 16th is Religious Freedom Day. We still have that in our country. And January 19th is Dr. Martin Luther King Day, that we still celebrate in our city, state. Not everywhere in the country, though, apparently. Thank you.
Thank you. And actually, it's a good reminder, too, that the council meeting will be on that Tuesday of that week because of Martin Luther King Day. All right, any further announcements from council members? Announcements from the administration? Hearing none.
I was just going to say, Ward 3 won Cram the Cruiser.
Oh, way to go, Ward 3. All right.
Demand
so
a recount.
Cram the Cruiser given time of need. That was a great event, and we appreciate but way to go, Ward 3. All right, we'll have to have a, yes. As an at-large member, I win no matter what, so it's great for me. All right, so we'll have to have a rematch next year, though, for the other wards to try to catch up. All right, any further announcements? Hearing none, no further business to come before council. Without objection, we are adjourned.